Good Tuesday morning, everybody. Welcome to the Volquest podcast. I am Eric Kane with Austin Price, Brent Hubbs, and Rob Lewis. A big thanks to Exterior Home Solutions for making this coverage possible. If you need roofing, siding, windows, a garage, contact Exterior Home Solutions today. They've been local and trusted since 1999. Plus, you can win a free roof from Exterior Home Solutions. Nominate a deserving family at exteriorhomesolutions.com/makeover. That ends on October the 1st. Got a lot to get into today, but I want to go ahead and start by announcing if you're listening to us and not a member at Volquest.com, we got a great deal happening right now for a rivalry week, Tennessee, Florida. You get 50% off your first annual year subscription to Volquest.com. So that deal is just going to be here for this week and this week only. Go ahead and take advantage of that today. All right, guys, let's get into it. It was not the prettiest of days Saturday at Neyland Stadium, but Tennessee does get a 30-13 win. Brent, you and I have watched the show again, or the game again. We've done the Rocky Top Rewind. We've had a couple different review pieces. But I do want to know how concerning is that output? Of course, it's not the end of the world, but how concerning is that game that we saw at Neyland Stadium?
Well, I mean, I just think that, it's the fact that the passing game is not in sync. For whatever reason, settled in, over anxious, uptight, whatever, and we can debate and argue all we want to. Should he have caught this one? Should he have caught that one? Was it a bad throw? The bottom line is they didn't complete the pass. They didn't execute the play. And if Tennessee's going to go and grow and do the things they want to do, they've got to throw the football, and they've got to. What's the old saying? The throw game. The passing game has to be better. They have got to complete passes. They have got to stretch the field vertically in the passing game for Tennessee moving forward. And that's got to start this week. They can't – I just don't believe they can throw it side to side the entire season and be the type of offense they need to be to have a chance to win and live up to the expectations record-wise that people have for this team.
Yeah, for me, my judgment of this team starts after this game. I've thought about it. People have asked me Sunday out of the golf tournament and Monday, I'm just not going to judge them yet. Listen, it was this awkward game. You delayed. You're playing a team that you're supposed to crush. That does not excuse errant passes, drop passes, all that stuff. That stuff's just execution. And so. If they're still doing the same things this week, and I get the people that say Joe is Joe, who he is who he is at this point. Okay, I agree. I mean, I can't disagree with that. But again, I think for this team, I'm going to look to judge them more so on how they play Saturday than how they played against Austin Peay. Look around college football. Ohio State has won their games 23-3 and 35-7 over Youngstown State. Michigan beat UNLV 35-7. The number 2 team in the country, the team with the second best odds in all of college football. Again, you can't get Saturday out of your mind. I get it. It was junk. It was just not pretty to watch, but kids are still emotional. They kind of ride, with some of this stuff, so I'm interested to see what they bring to the Swamp. Do they bring the same thing to the Swamp? Because if they do, that's probably not a good sign for the Vols. But I do think that the defense will keep Tennessee in most games, even when the offense does have those moments where they just seem like they're out of rhythm, don't have any kind of juice, and it's like a 3-out machine.
Rob, there are things that Tennessee needs to work on. There are things that need to be improved. The passing game's got to get in sync and all that. So I'm not trying to minimize that at all. But is it we're just a little spoiled right now? I mean, Tennessee wins 30-13, should have won 60-13. But just knowing how good this offense has been the last year, 2 years, is it we're a little spoiled, or is it a real hey, they got some real issues here potentially?
Well, I mean, I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, I think you have to be like AP and probably wait till after Saturday. But I mean, we're spoiled because of what we've seen from Hendon Hooker in this offense. I mean, I'm not trying to be hypercritical of Joe at all. I don't want to go down that road, but he had a really nice game against Clemson in the Orange Bowl. But other than that, I mean, he's not operated this thing at anywhere close to the efficiency that Hendon did. So. I mean, I'm certainly not in the sky is falling camp, but yeah, if you're a Tennessee fan, and I think it's the jury is definitely still out on your starting quarterback through 2 weeks when you're talking about, what this offense has looked like in the past. I mean, I don't know if Heupel's the point where he feels like he has to adjust some things, but I mean, I think we'll all could agree that they're a better running team. It appears than they have been in the past, and maybe you skew it that way some. Maybe you do, take out some of the deep shots. I don't know if you're to that point yet, but I totally get where fans are. I mean, again, I'm not saying Joe it can't be salvaged or it's nothing like that at all. I mean, Heupel has worked wonders with quarterbacks. I think that he can coach Joe up, but the fact is he's got to play better.
Yeah, Brent, I mean, it's got to be better. I mean, Tennessee just stopped throwing the ball down the field in the second half. And, of course, it was given there the perimeter game, the quick passing game, and all that. So it's got to get better. But also, nobody ever said that Joe Milton was going to be Hendon Hooker and expect this offense to look like last year's offense. That was never the case. But, of course, it's got to be better than what it is now.
Yeah, but, I mean, Joe's resume on it has a guy who didn't complete balls, who missed a lot of deep throws, before he got hurt. Hendon Hooker took the job and ran with it for a year plus. So anytime that they're missing things, there's going to be a lot of, oh, there's Joe. That's the old Joe. I thought Joe was different. I thought Joe had changed. I thought he'd improved. Where's this improvement? I get all that. Okay. I mean, listen, you're the starting quarterback in the most prolific offense, that Tennessee fans have ever seen the last 2 years. You're going to be judged. I mean, you're going to be judged. There's going to be high marks, and everybody in Joe's inner circle better understand that that's the way it is, and you better not get caught up and worried about all that. But that there's people are going to be critical of you. Now, if you want to look at it as the glass half full, here's my positive on Joe. There's not, other than one ball in 2 games, there's not any point where I go, man, he made a really bad read there. That's a ball he shouldn't have thrown. That ball could have been picked. He threw that ball into traffic. He's throwing to the right guys, and the guys are open. They just have to come. They just have to finish the play. He's got to throw it a little better. The guys have to catch it. I mean, that's a tougher catch for Brew McCoy than he wants it to be at the start of the game, but that's a catchable ball. The ball to Castles to me was the worst one he threw because it was way behind. He's lucky the ball to Squirrel White over the middle was high because Squirrel probably wouldn't have finished the game if he'd hit him in stride there.
Still got hit, though.
He was coming down. Still not a good throw. But then, the best play he made the entire game was the ball Dante Thornton dropped. And that's the best play made. He got out of trouble. He scrambled out. His eyes were downfield. He threw a ball to the outside where Thornton had his feet down. You got to make that play, and you got to make that catch. So, again, we're going to judge the quarterback at Tennessee, regardless of who the coordinator is, really high. If you don't believe that, tell them to pick up the phone and call Jonathan Crompton. Pick up the phone and call Jerry Garantano. Pick up the phone and call whoever else, right, Rob? Nathan Peterman and everybody else down the list. I mean, the quarterback at Tennessee is going to be a hero. He's going to be beloved, and at times he's not going to be very well liked if he doesn't play well. So Joe's got to put all that behind him, and Joe's got to go play. And we'll see how Joe reacts this week, how he handles it. I think this is a tough week for Joe. The one tough thing for Joe is he's playing at home. There's going to be a bunch of people there. He has to get settled into the game quickly. Everything can't be the 140-mile-an-hour fastball in the first quarter because he's geeked up and hyper to play. He's got to get himself settled into the game and play the football game Saturday night.
So how did Tennessee respond? Coming back into the facility, watching the film, hitting the practice field Monday morning. How did Tennessee respond to, again, it was a win, but it was a game where you expected a lot more of an offensive output. You expected a lot more good vibes, if you will, leaving Neyland Stadium. How did Tennessee respond to that? Josh Heupel was asked and answered Monday in his weekly press conference.
Good energy out on the grass with them today, but really good in the meeting room too. Anticipated that from these guys. We got strong leadership. Guys care about their performance, but they care how they get there too. I said it after the game too. I didn't feel like we didn't prepare the right way. At the end of the day, we weren't on the right side of the competitive edge to go play the way that we're capable of. That being said, there's a lot of things that we did really well too during the course of the game. I thought the effort, strain, energy, technique on special teams was really good. Defensively, played really sound. A majority of the football game. Gap assignments, allowed a couple of big runs early in the football game, but other than that, really good. Offensively, we ran it for dang near 8 yards a carry and had some efficiency in the pass game too. Penalties, in the red zone in particular, drop balls, hitting a couple more passes, lead to a different score, and certainly one that we all want. But those are all things that we control. And, that was a big point of emphasis today with our guys, control the controllable, which is what sits in that room and how we prepare.
Austin, you don't play football, if, ands, all that type of stuff, but Josh Heupel choosing to focus on the positives from that game, and that's a good mindset to have. But really, if you Ramel Keaton catches that one ball at Virginia, that looks a whole lot different stat wise and scoreboard wise. Without 3 holding penalties in the red zone, potentially that score looks a lot different. And without these bad passes and drop passes, it could be a whole lot different. So I guess my question is, Joe is kind of who Joe is, and we can't argue that, but a lot of these just feel like it's Tennessee beating Austin Peay didn't beat Tennessee the other day on the scoreboard or figuratively. Felt like Tennessee was just getting into Tennessee's own way, and some of that can be correctable, right?
Yeah, well, most of it is correctable. He's right, but again, it's simple execution. It's pitch and catch, and it doesn't matter if you didn't want to get up to play Austin Peay or the delay took you out of your rhythm or whatever. It's still simple pitch and catch, and there were guys open, and he either threw a bad ball or threw an adequate ball, and the receiver didn't come up with it. And so, they have to just continue to work on it and kind of just, go back to the drawing board. I mean, I love to play what ifs too. What if I didn't hit the ball out of bounds the other day? I wouldn't have made a double bogey, right? I mean, like, my back down score had been 2 shots better. I mean, like, at some point you have to kind of acknowledge it for what it is. But again, the best thing going is that game didn't matter. You didn't play like crap against Florida. You didn't play like crap against South Carolina. You played like crap, or at least not this year. You didn't play like crap against Alabama. You had a whatever type game against Austin Peay. It is what it is. If it matters to the team, they get back up on the horse this week. Obviously, there's all this talk about the player meeting and all that, and that's great. But words are words, actions are actions, and Tennessee's going to have to show some action on Saturday.
Well, because here's the reality: had they won 63-3, Rob, fans would be asking the same questions, right? I mean, that's great. They just beat little old Austin Peay, who's not any good. Can Joe do it? Can they do it against the SEC in the swamp at night? Doesn't matter what the score. That game is completely washed in terms of what the fans think moving forward. How that game went really has no bearing on the fans' thoughts going into this game.
No, and what if Joe plays just kind of okay and Nico comes in and is 10 for 12 with 3 touchdowns in the second half? Then that's a whole different conversation that's taking place this week. So I think you're right, Hubbard. If it was 63-3, I think it would still be getting picked apart a little bit. But I think his track record from when he started the first 2 games in 2021, combined with uneven performances in the first 2 games this year. I just think fans are really gun shy.
We got plenty more to get into about this Austin Peay game. Looking ahead to Florida, what does Josh Heupel and some of these players say about Florida, the current personnel, Billy Napier's second squad, about not winning in Florida since 2003. Spoilers, the current team doesn't give a crap about that. That's just something that we can talk about. All that coming up and more here on the Volquest podcast. Do want to pull my inner Mark Packer and get in here and talk about Bird Dogs. Stretch khaki shorts designed to fit slimmer through the thigh. And they got these shorts to do the exact same thing as Lululemon. Really, now, hear me out here. Lululemon, I'm sure a lot of you guys like Austin Price big into that there. But they fit way better because these regular shorts, they're made of stiff, restricting cotton. But Bird Dogs, they fixed that issue by inventing a cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki shorts but stretches so that you don't have to sacrifice movement whatsoever. Great on the golf course. Great if you're going to a meeting, a lunch, church, whatever the case may be. The versatility is the name of the game with Bird Dogs. Plus, they have an anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long on a hot summer day. Go to birddogs.com and use the promo code VQ. Enter that promo code VQ and you'll get a free Yeti-style tumbler with your order. Just kidding. It's a Hydro Flask water bottle. Even better. It is a Hydro Flask water bottle with your order if you put in the promo code VQ at birddogs.com. Again, that is birddogs.com/VQ, promo code VQ for a free Hydro Flask water bottle with your order. We can promise you this, you are not going to want to take off your Bird Dogs this summer evening. And a big shout out, as always, to a proud sponsor of the show, that is Exterior Home Solutions.
Exterior Home Solutions will make one family's dream come true.
Do you know a family in need of a new roof?
Maybe it's leaking or needs repaired.
Whatever the needs may be, Exterior Home Solutions is going to give one lucky family an exterior home makeover.
To nominate a family that you think is deserving, simply go to the website at exteriorhomesolutions.com/makeover and you can make your nomination there.
Exterior Home Solutions wants to give the gift of home to one lucky family.
Thank you as always to Exterior Home Solutions. Great people over there, big UT fans, and they're here to help you if you ever need an upgrade to your home, siding, roofing, whatever the case is. Give our friends Exterior Home Solutions a call today. Austin Peay, it's in the rearview mirror now. The page has been flipped to a rivalry game in Florida and a place where you haven't won since '03. Quickly, I do want to play this clip. This is from Josh Heupel and from Jacob Warren. It's something that we, media, fans alike, kind of make a big talking point. Tennessee hadn't won since '03 in the Swamp. What does the current team think about that? Give this a listen, Josh Heupel and Jacob Warren.
It's a great environment, you know. At the end of the day in this game, and yesterday has nothing to do with today, the previous game, our previous play has nothing to do with what's going to happen on the next play. You know, it's about, you know, preparing the right way, practicing the right way. That will lead to you playing the right way.
I think it's something that, in the nicest way possible, everyone outside of the building cares about and talks about and thinks is a big deal. I don't think to most of the guys on the team, like you mentioned, the younger guys, like whether they really know about it or not, I'm not sure. But just one of those things, again, that doesn't really matter, right? When we're on the field, who cares how long it's been, right? Whether it's here or there or whatever. I'm just going out there and just trying to compete and be the best on this day. Obviously, it'd be great to win there for sure after this many years, but something that we're not necessarily worried about.
I mean, I completely agree. The 2010, 2011, 2013, you know, whatever ones of those teams are playing in the Swamp, it has no bearing on 2023 Tennessee, Florida. It has no bearing. But the fact of the matter is, Brent, Tennessee hadn't won down there since the Iceman. It has been a minute. I mean, that environment, why is it so challenging to win at the Swamp for Tennessee?
Well, the problem with this streak that they're on right now is they've given too many games away. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, look, there's a couple Urban Meyer games in there where they absolutely got it handed to them, right? And those were a couple of really long, bad days for Tennessee. You know, you had the 05 game down there, which was a low-scoring game, and the game changes on a fake punt. You know, a backed-up fake punt that was called. Then you have the out pattern that turned into a touchdown that wasn't a
17
play that they gave up. Then in 15 they give up the Hail Mary play, right? Am my years right, AP?
That's right.
Be wrong, you know. So it's not just that they've lost there for Tennessee fans, it's how they've lost some of these most recent ones. I mean, Butch Jones could have very easily been 4-0 against Florida. He could have won 4 in a row against Florida very easily. He lost on 2 basically final plays, you know, at Florida. They blew a game in Knoxville where Florida couldn't score, but they ended up throwing an interception and give Florida or had a fumble and gave Florida short field a chance to win it. So Florida's not been good enough or not been great. Tennessee just hasn't taken advantage of it because Tennessee's not been good enough either. And even last year, you know, Tennessee wins at home, but that thing gets dicey at the end. Tennessee just had a hard time finishing them off, finishing this team off, whether it's at home or at Florida. But the ones at Florida, they've given more away the last 10 years than Florida's really taken from them, to be honest.
So it'd be really, I mean, it's always tough to play on the road, the SEC,
Sure.
but, you know,
It's
playing
loud.
down in the Swamp necessarily isn't like going.
No, I mean, it's loud. I
Yeah.
didn't interrupt you. It's loud. It's hot. When they're good, it's really loud. You know, there's been many times during this streak that Tennessee's rolled in there and Florida fans didn't care much about the game because they didn't think Tennessee had a shot to win it. There's been some other times when there Florida fans weren't looking forward to the game because they didn't think their team was good enough to win it. It'll be rocking Saturday night. Tennessee will have to get settled into this game offensively, get calm, you know, get all their, you know, energy out, whatever you get, emotions, whatever, and get calm because it'll be loud and ready to go. But, I mean, Florida's not walking around with the swagger right now that they walked around the last few years from a fan base standpoint, in my opinion.
No, Hubs hits it on the head. It's going to be loud out the jump. But everybody there is looking for a reason to leave because they're not excited about this Florida team. They know they're not going to be any good, but they know that they've got this kind of run against Tennessee. They want to keep that going. And if they can keep that going. But if Tennessee comes out and they jump on them early, kind of like they did at LSU last year, the swamp will get drained in a hurry. Like I just don't think the fans will hang in there and hope for a comeback. Like I really believe that they're looking for a reason to leave. They're going to show up because it's Tennessee and it's what they do, and they beat Tennessee for 20 years in a row, and it's what they do. But they're looking for a reason to leave, in my opinion. And I think if Tennessee, it's up to Tennessee to give them a reason.
Yeah, but the longer they stay in it, the louder and more
100%.
raucous that place will
You got to get off to a quick start. That first quarter, and Hubs has talked about this, and we'll talk about it all week about how, one touchdown, one field goal, 5 punts, and 2 turnovers on down. The first quarter is massive in this game.
Look at Florida this year, and of course, as you mentioned, it's a team rebuilding. Not fans not overly excited about it. Not excited about the quarterback play. They got 2 talented running backs. The defense last year, you lost a whole lot of production, and it wasn't a typical Florida defense either. So very much rebuilding, but of course it's going to be a good game. It always is a good game. Last year turned into a good game when Tennessee was out, by a lot and ultimately only won by 4 or 5 points. Only the second win since 2004 last year. And if you win down in the swamp this week, Rob, it's going to be the first time since 2003. Real quick, let's hear what Josh Heupel had to say about Florida, some of the challenges for Florida, their skill, their personnel, and what they're going to try to do to make things difficult for Tennessee.
Playing a really good football team here. Great opportunity. You come to Tennessee because you want to play in these types of games, these types of environments, sitting on prime time Saturday night. Great challenge in front of us, really good football team. The big, strong, athletic on both sides of the line of scrimmage. Skill players on both sides are really good, great speed, and will be a huge test for us. So, yeah, they got great team speed. You got athletes that can go make plays in space. You got to bottle up the run game. That's a huge part of what they do, and that sets up their play action pass. A year ago, they hurt us with some of that. We got to be able to fit the run and then play assignment sound and play the ball well when it's in the air. This will be the best offensive line that we've seen. They're big, strong, they're athletic, and look like a typical Florida offensive line.
Rob, we know what Florida's going to try to do offensively. We spoke with Nick Delatorre of Gators Online on the Rocky Top Rewind. Encourage you guys to go look at that interview. A lot of good stuff there. But, Graham Mertz is a game manager, if you will. You don't want Graham Mertz trying to win you football games. Florida's got 2 good running backs, so they're going to try to run the football on offense. But, Rob, I'm curious, and maybe we'll study more of it as the week goes on, but what's going to be that game plan against Tennessee's offense? Are they going to stack the box and say you're not going to beat us running, Joe Milton? You got to throw some downward passes and try to beat us, or kind of what's that strategy do you think is going to be against Tennessee's tempoed offense?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting because we really haven't seen, like most Power 5 teams, Florida's not been tested yet. They would have been tested at Utah, but with the quarterback situation that the Utes were, they weren't, facing somebody where they really had to, guard sideline to sideline, worry about the ball getting thrown over their head, and then McNeese State, no kind of challenge last week. But man, if you just look at some of the numbers for Florida, what jumps out the most to me, it just from raw stats and Eric, looking at stuff early, is just not, being disruptive defensively. They only have 2 sacks through 2 games, and only 10 total tackles for a loss. What Tennessee have 11 on Saturday against Austin Peay. Even when Florida's been bad or not, what we've expected, they've always generally had a couple of dudes in the front 7, and and maybe somebody emerges at some point. But to this point, they've just not been really disruptive on that side of the ball. I think Tennessee's going to lean on the run game. Utah had some success that way, but they were pretty one-dimensional. So I think Florida was able to stack it, but they'll be able to do the same thing unless Joe, proves that, he can hit a couple of passes in the 10 to 20 yard range. So I think everybody right now, until Milton proves otherwise, is just going press the line of scrimmage, because that's pretty clearly been, Tennessee's strength in the run game right now. So, I mean, they're going to have to, not just Joe's going to have to prove that he can make some throws into tight windows when it matters. And Hubbard, I'm going to put it up on the tee. Your third down numbers. I'm teeing it up for you. I mean, I was going to say the reason I mentioned something about this. The reason the ugly third down numbers are so head scratching is they're averaging over 6 yards a carry and still not moving the chains.
Yeah, and there's a couple things that have happened there. One, they've had a couple series where they clearly were trying to get the passing game going, and so they've thrown it more than they've run it. They've had a couple penalties that have knocked them off schedule and put them in third and long, and then they've had 3 3rd and 1s that just got blew up in the backfield. I mean, just absolutely blown up for a team that spent this time last offseason, a year ago offseason, the whole focus was on winning in short yardage. They're asking their offensive line in a couple of those short yardage plays to do some really hard stuff in terms of pulling into run blitzes and different things like that. I think what's going to be intriguing about this game, Austin, is everybody's going to focus on the quarterback, right? They're going to focus on Tennessee's passing game. They're going to focus on Florida's speed. Can they get the ball out? Can they get the ball to their speed guys? To me, it's about the line of scrimmage. And you say, well, every game's about the line of scrimmage. It is, but this is the best offensive line Tennessee's defensive front has gone against. How good is Tennessee's defensive front? We think it's pretty good. I think Virginia's bad in the offensive line. Watch the James Madison game. I think Austin Peay is bad in the offensive line as well. So is Tennessee that good, or have they played not very good competition? The flip side of that is Florida's not been able to get to the quarterback. Tennessee's offensive line wasn't great against multiple looks from Austin Peay. So how do the line of scrimmages play out in this game? It will be pretty fascinating to watch. I expect Florida to be super aggressive, and I think Tim Banks has still got a lot in the old back pocket, AP.
Yeah, I agree. They've been able to get home and get pressure, whether it be with their tackles or with their edge guys in the first couple of games. How many times Saturday did Tennessee's defensive line have such good penetration that you thought they were going to literally take the handoff and then somehow miraculously, Austin Peay would get the handoff off, and then the kid would end up gaining a few yards when you thought at the second end of the play, this is going to be a 3 or 4 yard loss. Tennessee's defensive line has been super active through 2 games, and offensive line wise, we'll see. Florida hadn't been able to get home, and Tennessee, a couple of times they looked to take a shot on Saturday, missed a protection and those type of things. Tennessee they do have to, really give Joe some time. And I think, I'm not saying you need to throw a ton of short passes, but at the same time, I think they need to get him in some type of rhythm early. Let him just see the ball get completed a couple of times. And is that a 5-yard hitch? Is that is that just going laterally for the first couple of throws just to kind of see and get him into the flow of the game instead of trying to take a deep shot or throw a 15-yard out or whatever? I think some of that stuff's important just to kind of get him some confidence, because I know he walks around and exudes it, but he deep down feels a little bit of pressure to perform well on Saturday, especially if he doesn't win, those comments that he made back in the summer, but he's never lost in the state of Florida or whatever. I mean, they really dig back up.
Well, no doubt. Here's the thing too, Eric. I wonder Tennessee's not seeing much single safety high looks defensively. If Florida jumps into that, I think Tennessee takes a big shot early down the field if they can get that kind of look with the field to work with. Maybe just to let Joe get it out of, get one out of his system. He may overthrow it a little bit, but that may be the easier throw for Joe right now than it is to throw a 20-yard over route or a 15-yard dig. If they get that single safety high look, they may just take off down the sideline and let him heave one up. They've just not gotten a lot of those looks. Virginia was in split safeties most of the entire game, and so was Austin Peay. There were times Austin Peay went 0 and Tennessee was going to take a shot and the protection didn't hold up. I don't think Florida will do that a ton, but if they get a single safety high look to stop the run, if the defense is in that, stop the run, don't you think Tennessee's going to take a shot there, Eric?
Yeah, absolutely. It feels like for the most part, these first 2 ball games, they pretty much just said, all right, we're going to try to keep everything in front of us. We don't want the big arm Joe to beat us over the top. We're going to scoot, we're going to try to keep everything in front of us is kind of what it seemed like if you simplify things. But Florida's going to play, what Florida wants to do. I mean, it's an SEC defense. It's going to play its defense. And I was doing a hit this morning. And I actually said it, and I kind of made myself laugh. But Austin, it's literally UBU. I mean, Tennessee's going to run its offense. I mean, Tennessee's going to have a game plan. It's going to try to tailor it to obviously Joe Milton's strengths. And if it's not there, they're going to adapt it as the game goes along, just like against Austin Peay and all that. But Tennessee's going to try to run Tennessee's offense, and that's getting one-on-one matchups and taking some shots with the ground game opening all that up. So absolutely, if they get single high safety, I fully anticipate Tennessee taking some shots down the field. And you hit one, AP or Rob, you hit one, and then all of a sudden Joe's feeling himself, got some confidence, and then who knows what this offense can do after that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. One of you talked about earlier about stacking the box, make Tennessee's, don't let Tennessee's run game get going and make Joe complete passes to beat you. That's why Joe's got to be able to stretch it vertically, Rob.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got to be able to, not allow Florida to dictate things with their defense. And if he can, complete the 15 and 20-yard passes, I'm not even talking about the bombs. I'm talking about the things that can
the intermediate
stretch
stuff,
them a
yeah.
little bit. That to me, Rob, that's where Tennessee's offense really wakes up a little bit.
Yeah, be honest. I don't think anybody's expected Jalen Wright to average 9 yards a carry on, in Gainesville.
If he does, it's going to be Travis Stevens X.
If he does, great. Then none of the stuff that people are worried about with Joe is going to matter. But it is. It is going to matter. And they're going to have to get. You can't be in 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3 all day. Sometimes on 2nd, 6, Joe's going to have to hit a Brew McCoy on a 15-yard in over the middle and move the sticks. And I'm just fascinated to see how it's going to work out, because I don't want to. I don't know how much pressure he's under, but I think it's pretty significant. I'd be interested to know what you guys think for how much pressure he's facing relative to what we've seen other quarterbacks. You're talking about a Tennessee team that's ranked in the top 10 and, playing a place they haven't won in 20 years. Joe's had some success, but, hadn't quite proved it, yet. I think it's a pretty big spot.
Oh,
Brent, if he doesn't play well, it's going to get loud. I'm not saying a change is coming. I'm just saying it's going to get really loud if Joe Milton doesn't play well in the Swamp.
Hubbard, am I making too much of it?
No, it's the quarterback position at Tennessee on an offense that everybody believes is going to be successful every year, because
that's a big part of it. That's a very big part of it.
It's you don't have that. There's not a vibe, in my opinion. There's not a vibe from Tennessee fans that you have to have 11 or 9 first-round dudes to go be successful in this offense, because it's been successful everywhere Josh Heupel has worked it, whether it's UCF, whether it's Missouri, wherever. You just got to have a quarterback who can make the throws. And again, it would be different if guys weren't open right now, right? Think of the misses, the drops that have happened. How many of them have been where guys weren't open? Even the slant in the end zone to Dante Thornton, AP. If the ball's in front of him, it's a touchdown because he's
Easy
open.
6, yeah.
It's not like these guys are blanketed. How many years did we go down and cover a Florida game and the storyline was, could Tennessee beat press man? Right? Could Tennessee's receivers beat press man covers? That was, from like 05 to, I don't know, however many years, 4 or 5 years. Felt like it was like, can Tennessee, Florida, Florida's going to play man. Can Tennessee beat man coverage? That's not the narrative with Tennessee, because Josh Heupel gets people open. I think that's where the pressure falls on the quarterback, because there's a lot of people feel like, Austin, this offensive scheme makes it really easy for the quarterback to be successful. He's just got to go out and do the physical part of it.
Yeah, and again, they've had guys running open, and Joe has either missed or has put it in a position where his receiver could get 2 hands on it, and the receivers have, come up short. And so they've just got to get on the same page.
Or just flat out drop too. Sorry to jump in front of you, but some of those throws, 4 of those throws, were good balls the other day, and the receivers just let him down. So even some of those bad balls, and they got their hands on him, whatever, could have been caught probably, but a couple of those were just straight drops.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's like, with Joe's throw, some of them that were bad balls. The other ones, even if they weren't perfect, the receiver had got two hands on it and could have easily caught the football and it came up short. So, they have to get on the same page. And, if they do, the Tennessee's offense, I think, can unlock some things this week. And again, I do think that Tennessee's been super, super vanilla. Hubs talked about early, that Tim Banks has still got some, some stuff in the old bag of tricks. So does Tennessee's offense. Like, they've not done a whole lot through 2 games. I expect that to change this week, and we'll see if they can execute said called plays.
I want to end with this. It's Tuesday morning. AP, fortune teller, let me know, man. You don't have the answer to it, but kind of what's your vibe? What are you thinking about the status of Cooper Mays? Can Tennessee get its center back for the Swamp? And if so, how effective could he be? Or is this, probably something about next week when we see the return of Cooper Mays?
No, I mean, I think it's still too early in the week. He continues to trend in the right direction. I would call it 50-50 at this point. And I do think that there's probably a 80 or to 90% chance that he would be available next week. We'll see if he's able to push through. A lot of this will depend on what the doctors say, because the last thing you want to get out there, if your core's not, back strong enough, is get out there and rip something again, and then you have to reset the whole deal.
Yeah, no doubt. And the other thing that's interesting in this game, for the first time, you're dealing with numbers. You can only travel 70.
Yeah.
So how many guys are you going to take that, can't play? If that's the case. Now, we're not going to know that. We were talking about this on Monday, Rob. It's not the old school days where they give you a dress roster on Friday and let you know who's going to be available and not. But it will be interesting to see if he is for sure on the trip. I think if he goes on the trip, then I don't know that you're taking him down there just to hang out. I mean, I think you feel whether it's just in an emergency role or whether you think he's truly ready to go. I don't think you're taking him down there and dressed him like you did last week. That was all for show last week. He wasn't going to play. But if he goes and dresses, then, I think that's a big deal. We'll just see if that happens, because you can only take 70. Hard to take a bunch of guys who can't play and can't help you.
Hey, before we go, did you guys see where Feinbaum called this a must-win for Billy Napier? I just wanted to get people's take on that.
I don't disagree.
Really? I thought it was a little strong in year 2.
No, I don't think so. As bad as they've been, it depends on how patient Florida wants to be. I mean, next year, you really going to rely on 30 new freshmen to come in and set the world on fire? I mean, I'm not doubting that it might be a bit premature, but I think that the lack of juice around the program, the bad, juju that they've had with the NIL down there. And I get they've got a nice class. But, I do think that, like I said, they're looking for a reason to leave Saturday.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I didn't hear Paul's comment, so I don't know if it was must win, like he's going to get fired at the end of the year. But Andy Staples made this point on the rewind on Sunday, and it was a heck of a point. Okay, I mean, Billy Napier, Florida plays really 4 rival games, right? You got the outdoor party against Georgia, you got Tennessee, the LSU game, because those 2 programs were good during that stretch, has become a real rival game, and then you got Florida State. Okay, out of those 4 games this year, which one of those looks like it's potentially the most winnable game for you? You play at Baton Rouge, you're playing in Jacksonville, and then Florida State looks like a playoff team right now. You get Tennessee at home early in the year, and it's a Tennessee team that didn't put up a great numbers in week 2. So is it more like this is a must win because this is the most winnable of his major rival games? Because if he loses this one, then the vibe may be after 2 years, Rob, he's 0-8 against the schools that you're judged by.
$30 million buyout, though.
Oh, yeah. I don't think he's going to get fired after this year. I just think to alleviate or to slow down a little bit of the hot seat stuff, the hot seat talk, this is a game. A lot of people are calling this a must win because it is the most winnable game of the games that Florida keeps real score on.
If he's going to get a big one in year 2, obviously Utah's already gone by, but even that would have an asterisk by it because of the injuries at quarterback. But if you're going to get a big one in year 2, this is it for Florida.
Well, and realistically, I mean, they've got that nice recruiting class. And I know some people think there's a bunch of, kind of paper 4-stars in there. We'll see. But I mean, the biggest thing is though, you got to hold that class together. And, you lose to Tennessee, you've already lost to Utah. You just named 3 more that they're likely going to lose to. And that don't even count other games like South Carolina and, Kentucky and teams like that they could easily lose to. At that point, you're trying to hold the class together. I mean, like that to me is where this thing gets really dicey for Billy Napier.
Well, here's the other thing too, right? I mean, Mario Cristobal's in year 2 at Miami. They just beat Texas A&M at home, big win. We're seeing all the Coach Deion Sanders stuff at Colorado in year 1. Brent Venables in year 2, who looked like a colossal disaster last year, right? He was awful. Look where they look like they're at in year 2 right now. So the patience level people have for coaches. I mean, look at what Josh Heupel's done in 2 years, right? The patience level that fans have with coaches right now because of the portal and the belief that you can flip it and have immediate success is shorter than it's ever been. And Billy Napier's out there begging for and asking for patience publicly with everybody while they get it built around. And they're like, well, wait a minute. Hold on a second. How much patience do we need to have when all these other programs seem to be making real jumps in year 2? That works against Billy Napier's popularity as well.
Big week ahead. Tennessee at Florida in the Swamp. And there's no better place to get all the pregame coverage throughout the week and all day Saturday than over at Volquest.com. Right now, first-year subscribers, half off an annual subscription over at Volquest.com. Kickoff sale, rivalry sale, Florida and Tennessee. Take advantage of this deal right now because it's only going to be here for a limited time this week. Go ahead and take advantage of it, 50% off or $1 for 1 month as well. Big thanks to Exterior Home Solutions for making this coverage possible. Give them a call today for a free estimate, 865-524-5888, or visit them online at exteriorhomesolutions.com. For Austin Price, Brent Hubbs, Rob Lewis, I am Eric Kane. Appreciate you guys for being here on the Volquest Podcast.